Welcome to the deep dive. It is Michigan week, and we're getting ever closer to that outstanding game that is going to be the game of the Saturday college football lineup. College game day is going to be there. It's going to be a beautiful fall day up in Michigan, and the Texas Longhorns and the Michigan Wolverines, two iconic programs with, let's face it, the two greatest helmets in college football. They're going to be facing off. Ian, welcome. And how you feeling, buddy?
Good. I lived in Michigan for like 11 years up until this summer. So I've been, and when I moved up there, I knew this game was going to be on the horizon. They announced it, and I was like, oh my, I bet you I'm moving back right when they finally Texas goes up there to play in Ann Arbor. So, but I've been, uniquely positioned to anticipate this game for literally a decade. And here it is.
What Ian means is he's been watching a lot of Michigan-Purdue games at 11 a.m. up in Big Ten country that aren't carried anywhere else. So he's going to have unique insights. But I've got a unique insight for you. If you want the best, smartest, most scintillating, and entertaining football talk and Texas Longhorn football talk, you need to go join Inside Texas today. Promo code HOOK'em will get you 50% off an annual membership. That is an amazing deal. You need to take advantage of it. And also, all of you need to subscribe and like this video. We really appreciate it. We're growing this video like wildfire. We're taking over, Ian. How are the Texas Longhorns going to take over the big house in Ann Arbor? We know a lot of Texas fans are going up there. I'm not sure they're going to take it over. I'm sure they'll show out well. But how are the Texas Longhorns on the field going to take over? We have been developing a general theory of the case ever since we knew about this football game. You and I have been talking about it, theorizing about what different matchups are, whether Alex Orji is the next Tommy Frazier or whether he's a guy who comes in occasionally on a Wildcat package and doesn't throw or hand off or pitch the ball, even if the other guy's open. What's the general theory of beating Michigan that we have come up with?
You want to throw the ball a lot. You want to throw the ball early. You want to be aggressive and try to put points on the board, maybe use some tempo. And you want to impose a style on this game of large snap total, large number of possessions, and try to see if you can make them throw the ball and try to catch up. Technically, if you're up 14-0 in the first quarter, the other team doesn't have to give up on the run, right? But it gets very, very difficult psychologically to maintain a plodding approach on offense if you are scoring and putting pressure on them. And then simultaneously, you want to load the box and tell Michigan, if you're going to keep up or if you're going to move the ball in this game, you're going to throw. So you're applying that same pressure in both directions to try to knock them out of their 3 yards in a cloud of dust man ball methods that Jim Harbaugh installed there, and get them out of their comfort zone, get their crowd discombobulated and out of it. That part's not that hard, really. And impose more of a Big 12 style on this game.
So 2 observations. Big 12 style. We're in the SEC, buddy. Catch up. 2 observations here. One, Pete Kwiatkowski, one of the things I think we admire about him is that he's very good at developing positionally. He's very good at being calm in a football game and not overreacting to data or one event. One of the things that I think is a drawback for Pete Kwiatkowski, at least I've been fairly critical of, and I think occasionally you've joined in with me on this in probably a more balanced way, is that he's hesitant to overplay advantages, meaning he tends to play a more balanced approach of defense, not running too hot, not running too cold, trying for the Goldilocks just right approach, right? And over time, he believes that approach yields the best result. I kind of think when you play an opponent with a clear weakness, I'm all about jabbing in your finger in that little wound and trying to expand it and make it something that they're going to have to triage. And I think there's an opportunity for that in this game. One of the things that's notably changed about that is gross. Texas Homer just chimed in our chat. Sorry about that. I think I watched a scary movie last night. It's got me inspired. But One of the things that was interesting about Michigan last year is, although they played pretty conservatively and close to the vest, if you did grossly overplay them on the run, J.J. McCarthy was a early first-round draft pick at quarterback, and they had 2 NFL receivers in Roman Wilson and Corn Dog, and they would hurt you. J.J. McCarthy every now and then would have a little explosion for a half or so and crush a defense who was really overplaying and make them play honest again. I think we're very skeptical that Davis Warren and the wide receivers, I want to specify wide receiver, not the tight end, because we're going to talk about the tight end later. I think we're very skeptical that those guys can do that if we do overplay the run. What do you think, Ian?
Yeah, for sure. Although I have to say this. The idea of going in and attacking Michigan in this way and forcing them out of that style and throwing the ball around and all this is exactly what Ohio State has tried to do for 3 years in a row. And they have failed every single time. I can tell you exactly why they failed each year. May or may not overlap with the strengths and weaknesses of this specific Texas team. But Michigan they know exactly what this game is going to be, right? Because this game, what's going to happen when we play a team with an NFL quarterback and NFL receivers that wants to throw the ball around and is going to come and load the box and try to take away our run game and has blue chip talent all over the field and has spent a month preparing for us. They know exactly what that's like. Texas has not played this game exactly. Like the Alabama game is pretty close, but other than that, they've not played this game exactly. They can at least look at the film and anticipate what Michigan will do in counter. But got off track a little bit there. What did you ask me initially again?
No, I think that's actually the fair rebuttal of why Texas maybe needs to overplay their hand a little bit and really press their advantage, and specifically press those wide receivers. Dare them. Say, hey, we watched Fresno State. We don't think you're very good, and we don't think you're very coordinated in the passing game. Prove it. Burn us. Beat us. And if they can't, I think it is going to be a long day, because while Michigan, the program, and Michigan globally has played this game before, the 5 new Michigan offensive linemen have not. Davis Warren has not. These 2 new receivers that don't appear to be world beaters have not. Actually, there's a real lack of institutional knowledge on their offense. On their defense, I buy into that Ohio State premise a lot more. I think that defense is cohesive, incredibly talented, and has a lot of carryover and experience. So I think that's something that's part of that theory of the case. And we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to drill down on 2 things in a second. Before, I think Ian needs to make an important point.
I need to make an essential point.
Do it.
So Michigan is going to come out and they're going to anticipate that the box is loaded, and their opening script is going to be rollouts, trick plays, misdirection, and a lot more passing than you'd expect. And so Texas needs to be like, we're going to go in, we're going to load the box, and we're going to make you prove it. But do be aware that they will have all these counters early on to set up their run game later. So don't just run in bullheaded like, oh, we're going to stuff the run. We're going to show Michigan what's up. They'll never see it coming. They will see it coming. So you want to slow play it just a little bit at first until they run out their initial script, and don't let them get cheap points early. And then you can zero in and really, really, really overplay all their tendencies.
That's an interesting caution. I wouldn't be surprised if they came out in 13 personnel, motion twice, everyone shifts, everyone moves around, they change their splits, and then they run play action and throw it to Colston Loveland, right?
This is what they do to Ohio State every time. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But they get themselves in the game early, and then they lean on Ohio State. And then by the end of every game, Ohio State was just like the towel was being thrown in the corner, and they didn't want any more of it. So
interesting. Well, we've got another theory of the case, and this is more than a theory. This is reality. There's a guy you need to call if you're getting a mortgage in the great state of Texas or in several other states where he's licensed. You need to call Gabe Winslow. You can reach him at 832-557-1095. Ian, do you like stuff that's free?
I do.
I do as well. And I like valuable things that are free, especially. I don't really care if someone gives me a piece of lint or a stick that they found on the ground. That's not very useful. But if you give me a free refi, that's valuable. And that's what Gabe is offering right now. That's right. You heard me, people. He's going crazy. I don't know what's gotten into him. He is actually, if you have bought a house in the last couple of years and you're looking to get a lower rate and take advantage of these lowering interest rates that are here and further to come, give Gabe a call because he has got a methodology to allow you to refi for absolutely free. Give him a call, find out how. Not a gimmick, not a trick. It's pretty awesome. And I'm not at liberty to say, but Gabe has it all nailed in and dialed in. So reach him at 832-557-1095. And of course, if you're just buying a house, he's also the best option in the state of Texas. He is fantastic with all of our listeners and watchers. And there are raves and raves about the job that he does for the people. Go pull up his Google reviews. I think he's got like 160 and they're all 5 stars. So Google don't lie. Ball don't lie and Google don't lie. So Ian, let's talk a little bit about, let's drill down a little bit specifically to the challenge of the Texas offense. I have documented extensively that Quinn Ewers is a very contextual quarterback. He is outstanding from a clean pocket. He is borderline extraordinary in play action. Guess where he falls off quite a bit, Ian?
The little subheading there is a useful help here. When he's blitzed?
When he's blitzed, that's right. So turns out that Michigan likes to blitz, especially now when they have hired the mad scientist, Wink Martindale, one of the guys who was one of the real, I don't know, movers and shakers in the Baltimore Ravens organization. And we've seen that group have a lot of success at the college level, kind of unfair. We've seen, of course, his predecessor, Minter, have great success with Michigan. And then, of course, D'Anton Lynn spent some time with the Ravens, just showcased what he can do with what looked like the most pathetic rebuild possible with USC. And you know what? He did a hell of a job making them fundamental and getting them up to speed schematically. So what is this blitz-happy fella going to bring to the Texas Longhorns on Saturday?
You know what's funny is the Michigan style of defense is exactly what Pete Kowski wants Texas to be. But Texas has not been this yet. So what I mean by that is they play a 3-4 or a 2-4-5 based on your personnel. So they have 2 edges standing up on the perimeter. And then they are dropping them or moving them around and blitzing them like crazy. They have like a million ways to blitz 4 guys, right? Because their edges are standing up so they can drop in and out. They have a million ways to blitz 5. They can play zone match behind their blitzes. They can play 2 deep zone match behind their blitzes. They try to play the style of coverage that Texas tried to play in 2021 when Pete Kwiatkowski first came, where it's like you're in zone, but you're not exactly in zone. You just need to watch for this and watch for this. And then Texas's players were like, what? I got to do what? Michigan does it, and they're very good at it. So they'll be like, they look like they're in zone, but then they're matching tight when your route breaks. You know, they can trade receivers off and move to a new guy. They can pick passes off. They can overplay guys. It's a nasty thing.
Yeah, they blitzed Fresno State on 60% of their passing downs. And I suspect that they might. And look, it's one of those things where if you don't block it, he's not very shy about bringing it again. It's not the sort of like, oh, let's not. We had some success with that blitz. Let's not push our advantage. That might be Minter's approach. Wink Martindale's like, let's blitz an extra guy. We got a bunch of pressure with 5 there. Let's bring 6. Now that said, the Ravens and Martindale were pretty famous for simulated pressures. So they bring it, and then they simulate a bunch of pressure. They'd walk guys up on your center. They'd walk 2 guys up on either gap of your center. And then right at the snap, they drop out. And then they bring a corner off the edge while they bring just their 3 down linemen. So they bring a lot of different looks. It's going to be a test not only for Quinn Ewers and the offensive line in pickup, but it really puts a lot of pressure on your secondary blitz pickup guys. And what I mean by that is your running backs, your tight ends, these guys that we assign to kind of clean up the trash. That's going to be really important. And then also our receivers, they need to have some awareness. If Quinn's getting blitzed, you can't lay 3 moves on a guy at the line of scrimmage and go run deep. You've got to kind of be aware of what's going on and run your hot routes and have your checks with the quarterback. What is Texas going to do to blunt this blitz or outright exploit it? What can we do? How can we get some of our guys in space and take advantage of this blitz?
So if I were Sark, I would have 2 main solutions for that. One is RPO all day. Blitzing does not work as well against RPOs because you're run blocking. So when you're moving, if they're moving guys around up front, they can really get caught, right? Like if you're like, we're going to drop our edge into coverage and we're going to slant a defensive lineman into his gap, and then we're going to move our linebacker and make him look over here. That doesn't work as well if the team is just running the ball every snap. And then also it's hard if the edge is like, I'm going to show like I'm blitzing, but then I'm going to drop into coverage. But then the guy that you're covering is just running a quick slant like that, right? Or a perimeter screen or whatever. RPOs are very good against the blitz. I would anticipate. You don't want to run the ball against Michigan because they have these big defensive tackles, right? But I think they can mitigate the blitz by the quick game in the passing game.
So we want to emphasize the P part of the RPO.
Yes. And then the other thing I would do is, I was thinking about this earlier with Connor, and I had to check myself because I was like, they should just do what they did against Alabama, where they were like 4 wide spread every play, throwing the ball around on the perimeter. And then I remembered that Texas had a certain player against Alabama that they don't have in this game that helped them pick on Alabama's linebackers and safeties. And his name was Jatavian Sanders. And they don't have that guy. So there's still a lot of things they can do with the tight ends they do have that are similar. But I think I would make Jaden Blue a big part of the passing game. That's a good way to beat the blitz, is when the linebackers are all, mugged up inside, showing blitz in and out. But then you have this 4-4 dude sprinting out and flexing out and running routes on you. I think that's maybe the best answer.
Yeah, I think that's true. I also think that there's some value in that. Texas has a lot of good receivers. We don't know if any of them are great. I suspect one of them is going to be great.
Yeah.
A freshman.
Oh, yeah.
But there's actually some value in that against a blitzing defense that has a lockdown corner. And what I mean by that is, if Will Johnson erases Isaiah Bond, is that crippling to our offense?
Probably not. We don't really know yet.
We don't really know, but probably not, because I suspect Matthew Golden and Jonte Cook and Amari Niblack in certain situations, and Ryan Wingo can. I like the idea of Ryan Wingo, our quote unquote number 4 guy, matched up on Michigan's number 4 coverage guy, which is one of these new safeties that I think even the Michigan fans are a little insecure about. Michigan, if they have a relative weakness on that defense, it is the secondary. It's not Will Johnson, but it's sort of everyone else. They really replaced a lot of really good players and NFL guys. And also they lost some guys to the transfer portal. And then they had a bad knee injury to Rod Moore, who was going to start at safety. So they have some exploitable parts of that defense. And if the blitz doesn't get home and Texas is smart, I think there's an opportunity to spread them out. Now, I don't know if you agree with me, but I think there's some tension between spreading them out too much and surrendering some protection for Quinn Ewers, because Michigan is not shy about attacking 4 and 5 wide and basically saying, you think you've spread us out and you're going to pick us apart. Actually, what you're about to do is get some hits on your quarterback in exchange for that. So I think there's going to be an interesting tension that all of you should watch throughout that game of how much can Texas get away with spreading them out? If the answer is we can, just mail the game home because Michigan's going to lose. If the answer is it depends, then we're going to have a little bit of a back and forth. If the answer is we can't spread them out at all because Quinn's getting murdered, it's going to be tough slugging, and we're looking at maybe trying to win 14-13 or something like that. So anyway, that's my impression. What do you think? You think that that's kind of covers the blitzing aspect of Michigan's D?
Connor, turn the Twitter cam on. I'm going to cut this part for Twitter. This is a really tough matchup. Like, this is as good as pass defense gets in college football. Schematically, personnel, we'll see, but I tend to think that Michigan's defensive backs are going to be pretty good. There may be only one NFL guy, but then like 4 veterans that know the system kind of deal. If Texas goes in there and Quinn Ewers tears this team apart and throws for 400 yards, Texas is the favorite to win the national championship. If they have a passing game that can go in and just whip Michigan and destroy them and bury them under the field, this is a national championship team if they don't get injured. Because that is a really high bar. And passing teams that can clear that bar are the cheat code of college football. So you're talking about like a LSU, Washington kind of, and Washington failed to do this last year. You're talking about that level of passing game. And that level of passing game is Georgia trembles at the thought of playing a passing game like that. You know?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. I like it. All right, clip that, Connor. Hot take coming. Only release that if we win. Michigan, as anemic as we think their passing game might be, it could be very opportunistic in some key moments that could hurt us, particularly as Michigan tries to possess the ball, grind on us, and make this a 4-quarter game where they assert themselves late. Colston Loveland is that guy that they're going to be focused on. Colston Loveland is good at football, Ian.
Yeah.
How can Texas, I don't know if we're going to stop Colston Loveland, but how can Texas make what he does to us irritating but not fatal?
I wrote about this. It'll be yesterday. It's up on Inside Texas. Whenever you watch this video, it'll be up on our board. How Texas can defend Colston Loveland. There's like people will say like Percy Harvin type all the time for like any small receiver who's like a demon in space, but may or may not be that skilled and may or may not be as versatile as Percy Harvin was. You following me, Paul?
Absolutely.
Okay. Then there's like the Travis Kelce type, which means like a tight end that gets out from the formation and runs routes, but people use it liberally. And it's like, yeah, but they're not actually Travis freaking Kelce, right? Colston Loveland might actually be Travis Kelce. He is so good with his route running. He's extremely quick. He's like, you'll watch him like beat corners inside on slants and things. He creates space extremely well. And then he's 6'5", 245. So when you're trying to get around him and he's catching the ball away from his body, he's boxing you out. It's hard to do anything about that. And then when you have to tackle him, he's a 245-pound athlete.
And I think an important thing to mention about him is, like Travis Kelce, he's very comfortable spending time outside the numbers, lined up, traditional where an X receiver would be. He's also comfortable with his hand down on the line of scrimmage. He's also comfortable as a move H-back in the backfield, going one-way, like suggesting they're running a counter, that he reverses direction and leaks out in the flat, and you hit him on the run. One thing I noticed about Colston, he runs really well. He's got great body control. He's got great hands. He's kind of a load, especially when he gets in the secondary. So the point from when he catches the football, typically on the move, and the point where he goes down, even if you make contact on him immediately, he's going to drag guys 5-6 yards. So he's going to be, I think, their primary red zone threat.
Yeah. Let me pull up these stats from earlier. I think he is their primary passing game player.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Against Fresno State, Davis Warren was 8 for 9 for 87 yards, 9.7 yards per attempt, and a touchdown when he was targeting Loveland. When he was targeting anyone else, he was 7 for 16 for 31 yards at 1.9 yards per attempt, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception.
That's a contrast because the latter quarterback is unplayable. That's pathetic. The former quarterback is like elite, right?
Yeah. And that's why he's the quarterback and not Orgy, because Orgy can't throw reliably to Loveland and Warren can. Like I said, they'll have all these counters to try to get the ball to the other guys and not be 1.9 yards per attempt when not throwing to Loveland. But I think we both agree this is another, you load the box to stop the run and you bracket Loveland wherever he is on the field with the safety. Wherever he is, you drop that safety down and you play him inside and outside with the safety and then the next guy inside or outside.
Yeah, I've heard people speculate, hey, we need to assign a guy to follow him. Let's have Anthony Hill. It's like, no. That's what Michigan wants. We don't want to do that because they can make us unsound just based on where they'll move him around. You just have to identify him, and then your team has to know, your linebackers and your secondary specifically, but sometimes your edges. They need to understand, hey, when Colston Loveland's across from you and it's 3rd and 4 and his hand's on the ground, don't sprint by him on your pass rush. Like, put your hands on him and hold him up for about a second and a half, and then go rush the passer. We just have to have a team awareness of where he is, what he does. And at the end of the game, if he's got 6 catches for 55 yards and no touchdowns, and he converted a couple of 3rd downs on us, that's probably a win. But if he's got 8 for 99 and 2 touchdowns in the red zone, and he converted 4 3rd downs, we're in a lot of trouble. So I think that's a guy that we're going to end with. That is the guy I think on the offense. If you're going to identify one guy to stop, it's their tight end, Colston Loveland. And that's been our deep dive. We hope all of you enjoy your dive into this matchup on Saturday. It is going to be the premier game in college football. Texas is going to play a few of those this year. And if you want to be a part of all the action, both on and off the field, you need to join Inside Texas. Use promo code HOOK'em to get 50% off annually. For Ian Boyd, I am Paul Wadlington saying, Hook 'em horns, beat Michigan.